Before Israel had kings, before mighty armies rose from their tribes, the people lived constantly under threat. For 7 long years, the Midianites swarmed over the land like locusts. Raiders stole harvest, burned fields, and left Israel starving. The people hid in caves and cliffs, calling out for deliverance. And once again, God began his rescue with the most unlikely of men. Gideon was no warrior. He was the youngest son of the smallest clan in Manasseh, timid and unsure of himself. When we first find him, he is hiding in a winepress, secretly threshing wheat so the Midianites wouldn't steal it. But in that hidden place, surrounded by fear, the angel of the Lord appeared to him. Light pierced the shadows as the angel spoke words that seemed impossible. "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Gideon looked around, stunned. "Me, a mighty warrior?" He was just a frightened farmer trying to survive. He answered, "If the Lord is with us, then why has all this happened? Where are all his wonders our ancestors told us about?" Then the Lord himself spoke directly to Gideon. "Go in the strength you have, I am sending you." Yet Gideon protested, "My clan is the weakest, and I am the least in my family." But God replied with a promise that would change history. "I will be with you." Still uncertain, Gideon asked for a sign. He brought out an offering, a young goat and unleavened bread, and laid them on a rock. The angel of the Lord touched it with his staff, and fire erupted from the stone, consuming the offering in an instant. Gideon fell to the ground in fear, realizing he had spoken with the Lord. That night, God gave him his first mission, not to fight an army, but to tear down the altar of Baal that stood in his own town. So Gideon gathered 10 servants, and under cover of darkness, destroyed the idols and built an altar to the Lord. When morning came, the town raged, demanding his death, but God protected him, and Gideon's courage began to rise. Soon after, the Midianites gathered again, thousands upon thousands, filling the valley like a sea of tents. The Spirit of the Lord came upon Gideon, filling him with boldness. He blew the trumpet, and warriors from Israel rallied around him. But Gideon still feared making a mistake, so he laid out a fleece and asked God for 2 more signs. First, that the fleece would be wet with dew while the ground stayed dry. Then, the next night, that the ground would be wet while the fleece remained bone dry. God answered both requests, not in anger but with patience, meeting Gideon exactly where he was. With confidence rising, Gideon prepared to march with an army of 32,000 men. But God had a different plan. "Your army is too large," the Lord said. "If you win with this many, Israel will boast that they've saved themselves." So God told Gideon to send home anyone who was afraid. 22,000 men left instantly, leaving only 10,000. But even that was too many. At a nearby stream, God tested the men. Only those who lapped water with their hands instead of kneeling were chosen. When the test was done, Gideon's mighty army had been reduced to 300. 300 against an army too vast to count. No swords, no chariots, no war machines. Gideon was left with terracotta jars, torches, and trumpets. It was madness unless the Lord was with them. That night, God told Gideon to go down to the enemy camp if he was afraid. There he overheard a Midianite soldier telling a dream. A barley loaf tumbled into their camp and flattened a tent. "This can be nothing but the sword of Gideon," the soldier said. Fear spread among the enemy. Encouraged, Gideon fell to his knees in worship. Then, in the darkest hours before dawn, Gideon divided his 300 men into 3 groups. Each warrior held a torch hidden inside a jar and a trumpet in the other hand. No swords, no shields, only faith. At Gideon's signal, they broke their jars, raised their torches high, blew the trumpets, and shouted, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon." The valley exploded in light, sand, and terror. Startled from sleep, Midianite soldiers saw torches surrounding them and heard trumpets from every side. Panic set in. Confusion swallowed them. Thinking they were under attack by a massive force, they turned their swords on one another and fled. Gideon's men pursued them, and Israel won a miraculous victory without lifting a single blade. But Gideon's story did not end there. After conquering the Midianite kings, he refused the people's offer to make him their ruler, saying, "I will not rule over you, nor will my son. The Lord will rule over you." It was a moment of humility from a man who began hiding in a winepress. Though he was imperfect and struggled with doubt, Gideon learned the greatest truth of all, that God does not call the brave. He makes brave those he calls. Gideon's life reminds us that faith is not the absence of fear. It is choosing to obey God even when we feel unqualified, overwhelmed, or small. And through Gideon, God proved that deliverance does not come from human might, but from his power alone. His story shows that when we lean on God rather than ourselves, he can ignite courage where there was doubt and transform ordinary people into extraordinary ones.